This is Stephanie with Hightower Stitching with today's video, which is the expandable table runner. I always like to let you know where we're going and what the project looks like. So here's an example, and this one is not on the table, it's actually on a dresser top. So you can use it on the table or on another kind of desk or table. After completing a big project like the one that had the prairie points in it, I'm ready for something smaller to do. And in looking through some of the new magazines, I hit on a good idea. And I always use the word fun. Well, here again, as a sewer, this one just really said something to me because there were so many things that you could do with it. And it is a table runner from the Love of Quilting 2020 magazine. And it can be done on the machine or it can be done by hand. And it gives you some opportunities for some quilting by hand also, or quilting on your machine. And what you start with is a 10-inch square that starts in the center. And once I finished cutting out the pieces from some other material, I said, oh, wait a minute, I could have done that with some of the cake layers. You know, if you're familiar with those that come in stacks, and there's usually 42 in a pack, and they have 10, they're all 10 inches. And so I'm going to talk about that every once in a while because that was a fun way to do this, because you already had your colors that could go together and you could pick and choose. But you can also just go back to your stash and make some great looking runners. You'd have that 10-inch square, which is going to go in the middle. Now there you can make a good decision. You can think about, well, I want my quilting to show up, so I'm going to use a solid. Or I want all my colors to join together in the middle, and then I'll do some simple quilting. And I'll show you two examples of those in a few minutes. So that's the first thing you think about when you start with your 10-inch. Then you're going to do some 2.5 by 10-inch strips. You're going to have 4 sets of 4. And those are going to make your rows that go out. If you look at the example from the magazine, you can see a blue, a pink, a blue, a pink. You'd have 4 sets of 4. And then the only other piece besides the backing that you would have would be 2.5-inch squares, and you're going to need 8 of those. And again, if you look at the picture, you'll see those little squares or what joins the strips on the side, and we'll be working with 2 ends of the square set on a point. And I wanted to remind you that if you're using the cake layers, and you can remember that the edges are pinked, they use pinking shears. Well, remember that that is part of the measurement. So when you measure, you'll lay your 2.5-inch right at the edge of the pinking. Don't take off any of that material for the pinked edge. What I did was I picked out 4 of the colors that I liked from my stack. I laid those and stacked them on top of each other. And you can press them together so it helps make them cut a little easier or cut better. And then carefully cut 2.5-inch strips out of that stack, and it'll come out perfect. And I've got the pieces all laid out. I have a big piece of styrofoam, and it's glued to a piece of cardboard. And then I took batting and put that over the top. And it's portable, so I can go from the sewing room out to the kitchen where the sewing machine is. And then I'm ready to start. And what I've got right now is I've done one end. And I'm going to start and do the next end. And I've already sewn. This is what I found out was an easy way to do this. If you'll take and sew your block to the end of the ones that are going to be on the right, all the way up. I've already sewn them on there because that would be real simple to see. All right. But when I got ready to put those pieces on, and I'll show you when I lined it up, I got, and I opened my seams, and the seams laid flat. Well, then it fit just great. Okay, I've taken the first strip that was on the left, and that's what I wanted you to see. And here the edges are pinked, so I'm going to take and line those up with the others. Then I don't have to worry. And I'm going to start down here at the edge. And if you like going to the iron, if you like to sew like I do and sew by hand when you don't have your machine, take and press that seam. This is a great one because you got nice strips and you could take it with you and work on it. And then I open my seams. You can fold them towards the dark if you want to. I don't like the bulk under there. All right, so I've added the first piece on the other end. Then I'm going to pick up the other one that has my box on it, my 2.5-inch square. This one I'm going to pin. And this one doesn't have both pinks, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to line them up. I'm going to line this up with the one under it. If you've ever seen me do this before, I like to line them up, take a pin, and I poke it in and put it at a diagonal. Now I'm not going to run over that with my sewing machine. I'm going to take it out when I get closer, but that seems to work pretty well. I'm going to slide my little catcher in there so I won't mess up the beginning, and then I'm just going to go ahead and do another seam. This is a project that goes pretty fast. You can be very creative with the strips that you put together and the colors, and you can see I just sort of went crazy with this group of cake layers. And just run it down. Okay. Now I'm going to do another press. And remember, don't iron it, because if these are cut the stretchy way, then you might have do that stretch when you get there. So then I open mine. You can do yours either way, and we're going to have finished the first point on this end, and you can see that when you look at the point, it's fitting, and that's what I found every time. So I'd always do the left-hand strip first and then the right. All right, now I'm going to grab this next strip and just show you where it's going to go. Here's the left-hand side. I'm going to lay this all the way up at the top, and that's going to look weird. You think you've done something wrong, but it's exactly right. You're going to stitch that one. You're going to fold it over, then grab your other one that you had on your board, line it up like we did the first one, and stitch all the way down to the end. All right, now we're going to pretend I've done the whole thing, but this is just the half. And if you look right here at this corner, you have it at 1/4 of an inch. And that's important. You're going to take and go out from that point to the end of that 1/4 of an inch, and then set your straight edge. And you're going to see that, because you're going to want to cut off all of those points going down. And so I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to take this and try and stay thin. Pull all those pieces off. It's almost like magic, and now you have this great straight edge for when you get ready to add your batting. And as you look at this one, you can say that looks a little longer than the others. Well, I wanted to prove to myself that I could expand this runner so that if you had a longer table or you had a longer dresser, then you could do it. And so I just went back to that pile of material and cut some more strips and some more of the purple, and it made it longer. And what I found out was by adding 2 rows on each edge, it made the runner now 46 inches long. All right, what I wanted to show you, the next part, was after you've made your sandwich with your backing, your batting, and the top, you're ready to put your binding on. And I used 2 1/4 inch binding and folded it in half. And if you look at this example, we're going to have some corners that are not 90 inch like we do at the very end. So when I started doing that, first I did it on the back. I'm used to putting them on the back, on the front, on the back, and folding them to the front and sewing them down. But on this one, I didn't like the way it looked, so I would sew it to the back and fold it to the front. But what happened is when I got to this corner, I would stop and I'd veer straight out to that edge right there. And it made a nice corner on those that I have already finished. So I was going to show you a little bit, see if you can see me do that. Okay, I pretend like we've been coming around to do this edge. And what I want to do is I want to get where I hit right here. I want to stop right there, and then I want to veer off. That worked pretty well. I have an idea where that is. And sometimes I slow down when I'm going to do my corners so that I can stop. I can feel that one. All right, and I want to go another one. And it's worth the time when you're doing this, and then just shoot off like I don't know if you've seen that when people are doing the edges. All right, so now what I'm going to do, usually you fold it all the way back. Well, I'm going to do that, but now when I come back, instead of being a full corner, look how that's angled, and I'm ready to start right up through there. So just like on the other corners that you do when you're putting the binding on, I'm going to start and I'm going to travel all the way to the end. But here again, I want to stop right in this corner. So I think I know where it is now. I shoot up to that. And I saw this on one of them, and I've kind of liked it to set them up, is to turn it, and it's needs one more. Turn it and shoot it off that corner. Now I'm going to go and do like a regular. I'll fold my binding back, crease it, and line it up with that top. And you can see how that looks different. Now I've got the full 90 degrees instead of, and the other one had the 45, so I'm going to run an idea where this is. About right there. See how close we are. Shoot off. Do this so you see it again, and there, that looks like good. That looks good. Now I'm going to fold this up just like I did on the other side. But when I start folding it back, it's going to look different. I think this one's still going to be all right. Okay, so now I've moved in and I'm ready to turn my binding back. And then I got to pick a place to start. I think I'll start right here at the edge. And this looks wider because this is actually the wider. And I had started pinning. One of them I pinned. I got around the corner, and that one's all right. And I got to use pins. I kept getting poked, and so I went back and found my clips, and especially when you're doing 2 1/4. And then I'm going to clip it all the way around. This one's kind of easy because these are so wide. I want to get to the other corner. And I keep going. And then I thought about just a few minutes ago, not only could you make the runner longer, you could actually make it shorter if you wanted to make placemats. Now, there's that front corner and the point, and that's just about as pretty as I would like. And so then I'm just going to turn this under, get it where you like it. Oh yeah. Put your clip in there, and I'm going to travel the same way all the way down the next corner. Let's see what happens on this one. I'm going to see how the back looks. Well, for some reason, my little corners of kind of disappeared. That's the first one. And the other one did too. So I'm going to go in here, do this, fold it back, and then I'll be ready to go ahead and hand stitch that on the back. I wanted this to be one of the videos that had the first part and had the second part all together. So now we've come to the end, and I want to share with you one of them that I did. My sister-in-law brought back some material from Minnesota, and it's called Minnesota fabric, and it was cake layers, and this is the one I did for her. And all I did with this one was use my running foot, which with a regular sewing machine, you could just use your regular sewing machine. And the center, I didn't want to detract from the pretty colors, so I just took and did some lines, geometric lines on that. And then I did stitch near the ditch for all of the parts. And when you get over on the back, now you can see the pattern that I followed for that. And then I always make sure you put a little name tag on that. The other one that I did that you saw first was grays, and there again I didn't want to do too much in the center because all the pretty colors. So it's almost got like a little fan, if you might be able to see that in there. And then in the other parts I just did the scallop edge because that sort of picked up from the little box there. And I do want to show you though. Oh yes, there it is. Okay, if you look at the corners, this was one of the corners that's less than the 90. There was the one that was the point. And there was the other one. So there's a lot of neat things that you can do with this pattern. And it came from the 2020 Love of Quilting. I hope this is a good project for you. I had a good time with it, and I've already got the next one planned. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching.